So state law allows for the county and the school district to have 30 days to weigh in relation to the impact of a TIF after the TIF boundary resolution is passed by the city council. After that 30 days has lapsed, the school district legal rights to engage in conversation negotiations have ended. They're done. And so the importance for us when a council has approved a TIF boundary, again, you have 30 days, and after 30 days, you don't have any legal right whatsoever to be involved in the process. The only way we can be involved in the discussions, final discussions of the pro forma, which are the financial negotiations about how a project works, is if we're invited by those parties to be a part of those conversations. We have our levies, mill levies, in the Shawnee Mission School District. As a part of the state budget, they assess a 20 mill levy in every school district in the state. The state assigns it under the name of the school district, but it is not collected by the school district. That money is collected, like all taxes, by the county and then sent to Topeka, and then they redistribute that money across the state. So remembering the old formula and now the block grant, so in the state we have equity. Tax dollars that are collected within the boundaries of the Shawnee Mission School District do not necessarily stay in the Shawnee Mission School District. Specific to the 20 mills, those dollars do not stay here. How does this process proceed? I'm going to ask Mrs. Wintering to put up on the screen in relation to how the law works. So after the council approves the creation, then again we have 30 days. That's why we're meeting again for the second time this calendar year to answer questions publicly in relation to the use of public dollars. So this is a document from the City of Prairie Village website. You can see, if you can read the small print in relation to what happens next, and again, you can go to their website and see it. But it talks about they have to have a TIF public hearing and what proceeds next. So this is all statutory. It's what's required for this process really to go through.
Obviously, over the last several months, we have looked very closely at TIF and the impact for TIF, and really for good reason. We've had conversations with developers and attorneys and city officials. And I think in fairness to the board, not much discussion around TIF has taken place in the district. I think at one point in time they believed, and quite honestly, some of that was because it wasn't exercised a lot in our communities. But today it is around development and redevelopment. So we're looking at it very closely, and what was considered, I think, in the past to not be an issue and not to have an impact really does have an impact. Dr. Hinson had talked just a little bit about the 20 mills, and the state really outlines in this TIF process that they capture their money. Their 20 mills, they capture, that money goes there and it's redistributed across the state. And I think we all know that Johnson County has an opportunity to pay for a lot of the educational services across the state. That's just the way the system's set up. When we began about a year ago to look, what is the impact? We were a little bit alarmed to say that when we look at how TIFs affect our ability to maintain our infrastructure, in cases where we either develop new schools or we would be in situations where we need to redevelop or reinvest in our existing buildings, it basically harnesses us from being able to do that. I've said several times to developers, we don't want to be anti-development. We want partnerships. I will echo what the board members have said. They're very important. Matter of fact, we have a responsibility to do that to all of the patrons that we represent. But we don't want to wake up someday, 20 years from now, when dollars would begin to flow on the amounts of TIFs that we have out there that we're facing right now, to find out that we have crumbling infrastructure and that our families have decided to move to other parts of Johnson County. And so we're trying to look at policy and procedure that allows us along the way to also benefit in that redevelopment. I will tell you right now, one of the biggest things that we can negotiate through these TIFs are early payoffs. That was part of our conversation with Prairie Village. get these things on the rolls, get them paid for, and get them off, and let the taxes then begin to flow to the entities. You are the checks and balance, and that's why we're having this discussion. It's not because we're against projects, but it's trying to realistically look at how we can become partners and the school district can benefit along the way and make sure that we can continue to be viable and meet our educational mission as well. We need to look at every single one of these and what the impact is. Is there an opportunity for us to share in new revenues along the way? You don't always have to capture 100% of the increment to give to a developer or to give to an entity, to give to a city. There's opportunities for the school district to carve out some of that as well. What potentially could be $3 billion worth of TIF and tax money that would move away from the district for an extended period of time. We want to look at what the impact is, not only on us, but all of our patrons, and make sure that we can continue to provide the highest quality education for our students. TIFs have an impact on the district. Economic growth is great for our district, but we have to be able to capture some of that growth along the way so we can continue to do our work. So we're going to keep this as a focus as we move forward. We're going to continue to have dialogue with our entities. Our policies, I think, will be clear in terms of early discussion. Although the law doesn't require anybody to bring us a pro forma prior to the time that they set a boundary, we hope we can establish the relationships with all of our communities to make sure that we have all the information that we need.
Couple of things that are going to come to you in the future. One, and I've told you several times, that the multiple thousands of doorways that are under construction in the planning process within the boundaries of the Shawnee Mission School District. All but one, to our understanding right now, is TIF'd. What that means, and you're going to see a map down the road of everything that's TIF'd, all the TIF boundaries within the Shawnee Mission School District. I think you're really going to be surprised. But I want to make this very, very clear. The increase in student enrollment and the demand for technology, furniture, additional classrooms, to build an addition, to build a school, there is no revenue. There's none. I want to make that very, very clear. So the only way for those resources to be provided when everything is TIF'd and enrollment increases significantly, it forces the school district to go back to the community for a tax increase. That's what that means. So as we have discussion about, okay, we're up another, you pick the number of students next year, and we need to add classrooms, we need to build some classrooms, there is not a revenue stream for that to happen through TIFs. That's the other side of the impact. Everyone needs to understand, when you normally would have development in additional students and additional demand for service, there has to be a revenue stream for the additional demand of service. So you do one of two things, and this is going to be on your plate in the future. We will either increase class size and dilute services to students, or we will have to go back to the community and ask for a tax increase.